Okay, this is the third room on Aparokshanubhuti. So welcome everybody to Advaita Vedanta Satsang's house. Artemisia is unable to speak today, so I'm taking over the moderation. So during the Binduji's actual presentation, we will close the chat and hand raising, and but right after the session, they'll be open for you to participate from the listeners panel. Or if you want to come up and ask a question, you can always come up. So the replays of this are available on Clubhouse, the two sessions already, and the previous ones on Taittreya. But they're also being uploaded on Advaita Retold YouTube channel. The link is pasted in the chat. And after our presentation, we'll have half an hour with Binduji to ask questions, mainly pertaining to the session with reference to Advaita Aparokshanubhuti. But if you have some questions related to that, I think Binduji will always entertain that. And, the link for the text link is presented with the English commentary is placed on the top. And the Sanskrit only version for those who are well versed with Sanskrit is in the chat and you'll be able to access it right after the presentation. And on that note, Binduji, our third session. Over to you.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Artemisia. Welcome all. We are on to the third session of Aparokshanubhuti. Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamshrishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhya Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyagritav Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Veda Vipagine Vyomavat Vyaptadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Sriharim Paramanandam Upadeshtaramishwaram Vyapakam Sarvalokanam Karanam Tam Namamyaham. So this was the first one shloka of this Aparokshanubhuti, which we explained in detail in the last two sessions. And today we are going to the second sloka of the main text of Aparokshanubhuti. Aparokshanubhutirvai prochyate mokṣa siddhaye siddhireva prayatnena vikshaniya muhurmuhu. So here the shloka is about the treatise itself. Aparokshanubhutihi vai prochyate mokṣa siddhaye sadbihi eva prayatnena vikshaniya muhurmuhu. So indeed those who are established in that truth, with the immediate knowledge explained for those who want to attain self-realization by their own effort, should scrutinize the details given in this book again and again. So this is a rough translation of it, but if we look into the explanation given by Swami Vidyaranya, he starts like this. Idanim prekshavatra pravartaye anubandha chatushtayam darshayan swachikirshitam pratijanite aparoksha iti vai ityavyayena vibhavam pramanayati tada achayam artaha vidvat anubhava prasiddhaya tattvamasyaadi mahavakya shramanaja pratyagabhinna brahma vishaya. So idanim means now. So now, in order to inspire the reader who is interested, prokshavatra, mean discerning, for that to engage them with the text, the author is presenting Anubandha Chatushtayam, mean the fourfold requirements of a treatise. That here he is declares as his intended purpose. And by using this term why, indeclinable participle in this thing, Aparoksha iti why, he is affirming with certainty the significance and authenticity of the end result or the direct realization, Aparokshanubhuti itself. The subject matter in the text, as is we all know, is the non-dual Brahman, which is non-different from the self of the one who is inquisitive about it. Pratyagatman. And the author is affirming that this is known through direct experience. Vidvad Hanubhava. That is the word he has used here. One who is knowing the methodology, for him, this becomes an anubhava or an experience. And how is it achieved? Confirmed by the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana or Shravana, and here he has used the word repetition, japa. Japa is for manana, he is used here, of the Mahavakyas such as Tattvamasyadi Vakya. So is basically an introduction to the intent of the text. Svachikirshitam pradijanite. He clearly states that the purpose of the text here, which is to guide the seeker towards realization of Brahman, the non-dual Brahman. Also, he is establishing the validity of direct experience, Aparokshanubhuti, by introducing the participle, particular usage in Sanskrit. Why means to reinforce that it is not a theoretical or an abstract word, but something immediately knowable, that the word itself, the word meaning itself is direct experience. So he's affirming that by adding the word why into the shloka, that it is not a what you call abstract thing which can never be known, but here it is something which is immediately known. Anubhuti. Anubhuti means immediate experience of Aparokshanubhuti. Of Vrityasya means it is immediate also. Then he clarifies the subject matter that by Mahavakya, when the Upanishadic statements like Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, Pratyanam Brahma, all those things are by when you have listening, repetition and contemplation, that is Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, when we do that, this will ultimately lead us to the non-dual experience of our own self, which is none other than the Brahman itself. Pratyag abhimāna, that is the word he has used here. Pratyag means the innermost self in us. The most innermost, that is the word pratyag means. Abhinna means non-separated or not in no way it is different from what? From Brahman. So pratyag abhinna is the word he has used here. Aparokshanubhuti akshanam indriyanam param atitam na bhavati iti aparoksham. Now, Vidyaranya Swami is explaining the term Aparokshanubhuti. Akshanam indriyanam. Akshanam means indriyanam. That is all the sense organs, including the mind. Parama aditam na bhavati iti. Here we have to understand that Parama aditam means not beyond the reach of the senses. In the sense of being completely inaccessible. Aditam means inaccessible. It is not going to be inaccessible. Rather, it is called aparoksha. Aparoksham indriyadhisthana tatprakashatvabhyam nitya pratyaksha swaprakasha atmatattvam tasya anubhutihi vruddhyaruda akhandata. What does it mean? This word aparoksham in Sanskrit, is direct. Indriyadhisthana tatprakashabhyam. Even though it is beyond the senses, it is still being the very basis and illuminator. Tattva prakashabhyam. Indriyadhisthana. Even though it is illuminating, see, here is where we have to be very careful that it is not accessible by the indriyas, but it is indriya adhishthanata. Indriya adhisthana tattva prakashabhyam. That word has got very important meaning here. It is not what the sense organs access as an object, but the power of the sense organs or the capacity of the sense organs to know the reality which is being brought in by the sense organs from the object. See, when we are seeing an object, normally when we look at it as an object, distinct, separate and separated by time and space from me. That is our understanding of the objects. But here, aparoksham is the aspect residing inside the sense organs or placed, established through the sense organs as tattva prakasha, the illuminating or the nature in which we are experiencing the objects as not as an object but as their very nature of existence and awareness of the object. What we are normally getting carried away by is by the quality or adjective or the distinction or disqualifiers of the object. But here the word aparoksham is not something which is that we gather about the object, but the very experience of the object itself, which is being the capacity or the tattva prakasha aspect, the illuminating aspect residing in our sense organs, with which we are first acknowledging the existence and awareness of the object, and thereafter we go by the name, form and the qualifying details on the object. But even they are being known by us in our consciousness or in our mind, because the capacity for the sense organs to bring in this information or this knowledge to us, that is what is the word indriya adhisthana tat prakashatvabhyam. So there are two things, indriya adhishthanata and tattva prakasha. These are the two aspects of it. How are they bringing it? Nitya pratyaksha swaprakasha atma tattvam tasya anubhuti. This, when we said about the sarvatma bhava, everything in the Upanishad classes, atma bhavam, we said that atma bhavam. Here he is using the word atma tattva. And how is it appearing to us as aparoksham? Nitya pratyaksha. It is always direct experience, direct perception. The nitya means eternal. In the form of what? Swaprakasha. That swaprakashatvam, the objects existing itself, is an illumination or a what you call emitting of its own existence and awareness. How do we know that there is something existing? Just because it is seen, we say that the tree is there, or the mountain is there, or the bird is there, or the dog is there, or the cow is there. We are saying that. We have distinctions about the tree, the mountain, the bird, and the cow, etc. But there is something which is common in all of them. That we do not acknowledge. What we acknowledge is the distinctions, because we are interested in transaction. But while the transaction is a separate aspect, before the transactions to happen, there must be something which is eternal, that is nitya, as perception. Then only it can be perceived by, not only by me, anyone who is perceiving it, they should be able to perceive it. Therefore, the existence of an eternal perceptive quality in the object is what is called the Nitya Pratyaksha. And how does it that? I said that. Nitya Prakasha. Swaprakasha. It is making us aware that it is there. How does it make us aware, make us know that it is there? There should be a connection between me, my sense organs, and that. You may say it is light, it is sound, etc., etc. That is how we are interested for the transactional part of it. But Advaita is not interested in the transactional aspect of it. Advaita is interested in the knowing the reality of things. So there is a self-effulgence aspect or self-illuminating aspect or the self-awareness or consciousness which is emitting or projecting or illuminating from the object as existence. So here Atma Tattvam is the nature of the self. The nature of the self is, we know Atma is Sat Chit Ananda. So Atma Tattvam is in the form of Sat and Chit here. Tasya Anubhuti. The nature of experience of that. Vritti Aruda Akhandata. That is Vritti Aruda. Vritti means in the form of thought. Aruda means attached to or climbed upon is the meaning. So, if an object is being seen, it is immediately creating a thought in our mind. I am seeing a tree. I'm not going into the adjectives and the nama-rupa descriptions aspect of it. That is a tree. The name tree is the one which is now becoming a thought. But when the thought is happening in my mind, please understand very carefully. When the thought is happening to me through the sense organs which is seeing the object, there is something coupled along with the thought which is being passed on to my mind by the sense organs. So the thought is from the memory of the name and the form of the object, and its existence and what you call illuminating aspect of it is now attached to the thought. That is what is called the vrittyaruda. And akhandata, that is another aspect of it. Akhandata means indivisible nature of it. But we don't get the indivisibility in our experience. Because why? Because we are going by the name and the form and also onto the qualifying adjuncts of the object. But there is a indivisible nature of existence and consciousness or existence and awareness in the thoughts which is being brought to us as a continuity of thoughts. When this continuity of the thoughts are happening, we are enamored by the distinctions or the khandada, divisiveness in the object, like the branches, the leaves, the flower, the etc., etc., etc. But the existence and awareness in all of them is indivisible and oneness. That indivisible oneness not only brings about the thoughts about the object, it is also bringing the substratum in which the object is existing, the surroundings, the conditions, my presence in relation with the object, my circumstances, the whole ambience is also coming to me as existence and awareness, indivisible nature. But the practice of the mind to focus on the vritti or the thought for the adjunct or the distinctions with which we separate out the object from the ambience for the transactional purpose is the reason why we are not able to see the nitya prakshasa swaprakasa atma tattva. Because our focus is somewhere else. We are focusing on the name, form and adjectives of the object, and we are never knowing that the total package which is being delivered by the sense organs in the pursuit of knowing an object. So, when it is coming as non-fragmented and being felt in the mind, we do not really have the Aparokshanubhuti, the immediate nature of the self present in the objects, which is the same as ours. Neither do we know our own, nor are we giving importance to know that of the objects. So, the realization of this self occurs only when the mind is freed from the duality and the divisibility. And that is called the akhandakara vritti, the non-dual cognition that reflects the undivided self. The self is not my alone, it's not my property. The self is the self of all. Every atom has the self. And that self is indivisible and is even present in the substratum in which that atom is existing. Because the substratum also has got a self. And therefore it is indivisible. It is just like that we divide the space, saying the space is now my house, the space is now my office, the space is now my hospital, or space is now my child's school, or the space is now the playground, etc. But the space per se is indivisible. And there is no duality in the space. This is the mundane example. But when it comes to the self, it is in the form of awareness or knowledge or consciousness. Consciousness cannot be divided. When it cannot be divided, there is no duality in it. Therefore, the akhandakara vritti, what is being told, akhandakara vritti means indivisible nature of the thoughts. The thoughts are separate and objectified due to the adjectiveness of the object. But when we have that indivisible nature of the thought itself, because the thought also has got a self. Therefore, that self is never divisible by anything. Therefore, when we do this analysis, which is the pratibodha viditam matam amrutatva vindate, this particular statement from the Swami Vidyaranya is indirectly talking about the same thing, which is why the akhandakara vritti can be understood in that form. Then he goes on to explain that yadva aparoksha cha asau anubhutihi chet aparokshanubhutihi vidya aparaparyayaha. Brahma sakshatkaraha tat sadhana granthaha api Upanishad sabdavat aparokshanubhuti shabdena upacharyate. So now he is explaining about this text Aparokshanubhuti. Since the experience is both aparoksha and anubhuti, that is direct and realization, the term Aparokshanubhuti vidya, that means is a synonym to Brahma Sakshatkara. Therefore, the text is about Brahma Sakshatkara, which is similar to the scripture. It is as good as a scripture that explains the means or the sadhana for realization. Sadhyam is Brahma Sakshatkaram. The goal is Brahma Sakshatkaram or Aparokshanubhuti. The sadhana or the means is Upanishad or the books like Aparokshanubhuti. So like the Upanishad and the Vedas, this also has got meter and thematic styles in which each verse has been composed by Acharya Shankara. Jatiti avalokya mana matrena eva uttama adhikarinam brahma atma sakshatkara karanam grandha vishayaha ityartha. Jaditi avalokana matrena. Jaditi means quick or instant. Avaloka matrena. Avaloka means, actually speaking, is glance, glancing. Matrena means by alone, that alone. That means for a uttama adhikari, for a apt student or an apt seeker, one immediate glance of this book alone is enough for Brahma Sakshatkara, because that's what he is saying, that Karanam Grantha Vishayati. Because the Grantha Vishaya, the topic that is being covered in this book, is the cause which will give him Brahma Atma Sakshatkara, or the immediate realization of Brahma or Atman for a superior student or seeker by just glancing through the book. He doesn't have to do the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana like the mediocre or the lower students. Because that is the way in which this book has been composed by Adi Shankara for a Uttamadhikari, for a superior student. But if we do not fall in the category, when we study this through the explanation by Swami Vidyaranya and analyzing it through our Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, we also will become Uttamadhikari to realize the Atma Sakshatkara. Only thing is that Jatiti Avalokana Matrena, that will not happen to us. That is by just a glancing, even by just a quick reading or glancing the book. A student who is, or a seeker who is well prepared, for him this realization is instant and immediate. Anena nitya aparokshat brahma tattvam visheshayoho darshitaha sa prochyate prakarshena tattat akansha nirakarana purvakam siddhanta rahisya pradarshana rupena uchyate katyate ityartha asmabihi purvacharyai ityartha adhyaharaha. So what is that is being done, said this here, that anena, by this text, nitya aparoksha brahma atma tattva, ever direct and self-evident reality of the Atman or Brahman, nitya aparoksha brahmatma tattva, that is the word, is distinctly shown. Visheshayaha darshitaha. By, distinct. Vishesha means here the word is distinct, not adjectives. Darshitaha. So it is to be understood by implication by us that the earlier teachers, Purvacharyehi, has done this similar text that is referring to the Acharyas of the Upanishad. That has to be Adhyaharya, means has to be is to be implied in by insertion from this context under which it is being referred to here. The truth is then thoroughly explained by methodically removing samshaya viparya and exposing the hidden essence, siddhanta rahasya. That is the hidden essence in the siddhanta or on the subject matter to get established in the conclusions. And this is the intended meaning of the word uchyate. He is referring to that katyate ityartaha. Katyate, chyate means pradarshana rupena. Siddhanta rahasyasya pradarshana rupena uchyate katyate ityartaha. Just as the previous acharyas who has explained it in the Upanishads, here Acharya Shankara is doing the same thing where akanksha nirakarana purvakam, by all the samshaya viparya, when it is being nirakaranam means eradication of that. Brahmatma-tattvam darsitaha is what is being exposed in this text called Aparokshanubhuti. Now the question comes. Nanu prayaha prayojanam anudishya na mandobi pravartade iti nyayat arambadiyo grandaha ityakankshya prayojanamaha mokṣa siddhaye iti. Now we should understand that there is a famous statement that there is a maxim, according to the accepted maxim, that even a dull person does not act without benefit or a purpose. This text should also show by stating that purpose is the question which is being asked. So to simplify that, we all know no activity is undertaken by anybody unless they know what are their chances of achieving a result. So that this text should also have mentioned that what is the prayojanam or what is the benefit for the person who is attaining. For that is what is mentioned as mokṣa siddhaye. The response is that prayojana itself is the mokṣa siddhi. You will get the liberation, the freedom, which is freedom from what you call ephemerality of life, ephemerality of everything in this world, and to a nitya, shuddha, buddha, mukta, that nature of eternal, free, pure and blissful nature of our is the benefit. It is our nature will be realized by ourselves. Na arambadiya granda. There is the text should not be beginning that. Has the text not start? Should the text not start to tempt the student that this text is for the mokṣa, that or this talk is for liberation or emancipation? Should the text not be started like that? So that is refuted by saying that the purpose in the scripture is clearly stated. The author declares that by the name of the book itself he has declared. He doesn't have to say it separately. Aparokshanubhuti, the name of the text, itself is the means to liberation, and also to indicate that is our swarupa and svabhava. Moksho nama sva avidyā kalpita anātma-dehāya atmatva abhimāna rūpa bandha nivritti dvara sva-svarūpa-avasthānam. So here Vidyaranya is defining what is liberation, mokṣa. Moksho nama sva-svarūpa-avasthānam. Sva-svarūpa-avasthānam. Swa means one's own. Swarupa means nature or the very fabric of our reality. Avasthāna means establishing in that or realizing that. So Swarupa-avasthāna means to establish or to realize the fabric of who we are or the nature of who we are. And why? How does he do it? Swa avidyā kalpita anātma-dehāya atmatva abhimāna rūpa bandha nivritti dvara. Swa means for oneself. Avidyā kalpita, the imaginative creation due to ignorance. Anātma, what is not the self. Dehāya, these bodies which we are identifying ourselves as atmatva, abhimāna rūpa. So the deha is considered atma. We are identifying our body as we. That is due to the avidyā kalpita, due to the what you call imagination or the perception or wrong perception due to our identification with the body. Bandha, that is the bandha or that is the bondage. So when we are talking about a freedom, we have a freedom from bondage we are talking about. That bondage is what? Abhimāna rūpa is the identification or the feeling of I am this body. And this I am this body is a creation due to avidyā. But not knowing our true nature. By not knowing our true nature, we think that we are the body. I am young, I am old, I am man, I am woman, or, Indian, non-Indian, white, black, Hispanic, whatever may be that, it is all related to the body. And we identify ourselves with the body only. All transactions are based on the body. And here he says that swa avidyā kalpita anātma-dehāya. So that abhimāna in the deha, which is a product of avidyā or the non-apprehension of the reality of our true nature, that bondage nivritti dvara, by releasing us from that bondage of identification with the deha, we get established in our swarupa-avasthāna. In our true nature, we get established. And tasya siddhi praptihi tadarte anena sarva anartha nivritti dvara paramanandam avaptirubam prayojanam darshitam kim lakshana aparokshanubhuti siddhihi sadhubihi nityanitya vastu vivekadi sadhana chatushtaya sampannaihi mumukshubhihi ityartaha eva shabdat na anya karmopasanadi karibihi iti bhavaha tasya siddhihi. accomplishment or attainment of liberation consists cessation of all miseries and realization of the supreme bliss. That is what is mentioned as tadartha anena sarva anartha nivritti dvara paramananda avapti rupam prayojanam. Prayojanam means the benefit. What is the avapti rupam? What is the realization? Paramanandam. The extreme bliss or the supreme bliss is our true nature. How do we realize that our is a supreme nature? Anartha nivritti dvara. What mistake we have done? Anartham means error or mistake. That when it is eradicated, tasya siddhihi praptihi. Tasya here means Aparokshanubhuti-03. Darshitam. Aparokshanubhuti sadbihi sadhubihi. By the sadbihi, sat means all the wise people, sadhubihi means those who are pursuing this. Nitya nitya vastu vivekadi. What is eternal, what is ephemeral of the nature of the object. That is nitya nitya vastu. Vivekadi. The discriminative knowledge through which what were we look into the object and understand the eternal aspect present in the object and the ephemeral aspect present in the object. See, here we should understand one thing. Both eternal and ephemeral is present in the same object, every object, all through, every time. Which we explained through the time of when we were explained about the sense organs perception. That is what is here he is referring to. Nitya nitya vastu vivekadi. So, viveka. We are not going to destroy the object. We are not going to dissect by killing a guinea pig or a frog or a animal or anybody for that matter. It is by discernment or pure discriminative intellectual access into the eternal and ephemeral nature of everything. By whom? Sadhana chatushtaya sampannaihi. One who is endowed with the fourfold qualification of sadhana chatushtaya. That is viveka, vairagya, shatsambati and mumukshutva. Therefore, mumukshubihi ityartaha. So one who is desirous of freedom from ephemerality, he has to endow himself with the sadhana chatushtaya so that he can use his viveka to discriminate between the eternal and ephemeral. Eva shabdat na anyai karma upasana adi adhikaribihi iti bhava. So eva, there is a word eva in the sloka. So that particular word eva means is an affirmation. It is a sound or a word which is used for affirmation through this means only. That is why nitya nitya vastu vivekadi sadhana chatushtaya sambannaihi mukshubihi. That is the eva shabda is ascertaining upon, not na anyai karma upasana adhikaribihi. Those who are not familiar, endowed with sadhana chatushtaya sambatti, they will be karma upasana adhikaribihi. They will be more acquiring qualities for karma and upasana. The ritualistic aspects and the contemplative activity of the rituals. that is being negated by the word eva in this sloka, by this translation. By this, in this particular commentary by Vidyaranya. To sum up, this direct realization of Aparokshanubhuti of the self, which leads to the experience of supreme bliss and freedom from all suffering for us, is only possible if we are fully developed with the fourfold spiritual qualification. Not by ritualistic and meditators who have not cultivated dispassion, discrimination and longing for liberation. That is Viveka, Vairagya, Mumukshutva. So that is what is the direction what the Shankaracharya is giving by in this particular shloka. Muhur muhur nairandarya dirghakala abhyasa prayatnena snana bhikshadau api anādaram krutva ityartha. So what does it indicate? Muhur muhu, repeatedly, nairandarya, continuously, dirghakala abhyasa prayatnena, long time and repetition of the abhyasa means repetition, prayatnena of the effort, snana bhikshadau, like bathing and alms seeking, have to be performed with detachment and disregard. Now, why should that be done? Muhur muhu means again and again. Nairandarya, without breaks or interruptions, means continuously. Dirghakala abhyasa prayatnena, through sustained effort. Dirghakala means for long duration. Snana bhikshadau means even in daily actions like bathing and seeking alms, anādaram krutva, one should perform them with indifference and without attachment. We have snana bhikshadau means it is only gauna prayoga, means it's a secondary usage to indicate all our physical activities. By keeping us clean and eating food, bhiksha means for satisfaction of ours. It need not be only the stomach what we is referring to. It is the satisfying ourselves with all the through all the indriyas. So whether we are engaging for gratification or quenching our thirst or reducing our hunger or maintaining health and wealth or all the activities which are related to the body, because we think we are the body. So anādaram krutva, there should be a certain level of indifference and without attachment. He is saying that don't do it. No, he is not referring to that. But there should be an attitude towards them that if you think you are the body, these things are important. Snana bhikshadau. But when you know that you want to be freed from the limitations or the identification from the body, any attachment or any importance given to the body will fail our attempts to liberate ourselves from the bandha or the clutches of the identification with the body. So therefore, let the body be functioning as it is required, but don't give any importance for that, or don't waste precious time for the upkeep of the cleanliness of the body, what is bare minimum required so that you feel fresh. That is what is required. no need of dressing up the body, no need of going to a beauty parlor, no need of going for all those activities which are for the cleanliness of the body, and even for the enjoyments, detachment through the sense organs. Means all the 5 sense organs are for the purpose. Indriyani indriyartaibihe. That Bhagavad Gita says. The sense organs are for the purpose of the sense objects. Know that they will continue to be engaged in the sense objects, but you should not have any attachment towards that. Let there be beautiful sights. Look at them, but don't get attracted by it. Let there be good smell. Acknowledge it, but don't be after it. Let there be good food. Eat it. Let there be bad food. Eat it. But don't get good or bad attitude towards that. So this is what is called with indifference and without attachment. Anādaram krutva. Vikshaniya gurumukhat avagatya vicharaniya anena mumukshuhu adhikari darsitaha etena eva arthat purva kanda uttara kandayoho sadhya sadhana bhavaha sambandhascha darsitaha bhavati iti bodhavyam. Vikshaniya, it is to be seen or studied. Guru mukhat avagatya, understood through the words of the Guru. Vicharaniya anena. Vicharaniya means carefully reflect upon the anena, through this, from a qualified teacher. From what is being heard from a qualified teacher. Mumukshuhu adhikari darsitaha. The qualified seeker or the mukshu is shown here who is qualified for it. Thus the relationship between the karma kanda and the jnana kanda as means and end, sadhya sadhana bhava, is also indicated, must be understood. So what is the sadhya sadhana bhava, between the difference between the purva kanda and uttara kanda? We have to understand the difference between these two. Therefore, a true seeker must hear the teachings from the Guru, understand them and reflect upon them. That is why Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana is important. Only through this process, the qualification of the student is revealed. If he is successful in reflecting and all the teacher's words, then he is an apt student. And also, when he does that, he will be able to differentiate between the Purva Kanda, which is the Karma Kanda, and the preparations required for the Karma Kanda is different, and that of the spiritual knowledge of Jnana Kanda is liberation is the means, whereas for the Purva Kanda or the Karma Kanda, the results are Swarga, Putra, Adi, etc. So that a true seeker of knowledge or one who wants a freedom should learn these things from the teacher's mouth. So I'll stop it here, because these initial verses have got long commentaries, because he is setting the what you call preamble and making us understand that what is the requirement from the listeners of the book or the learners of the book. What should be the pre-qualification, and we should work towards that. Once that is clarified in the initial 2-3 verses, then it is easier for us to go to the rest of the verses, because that is more on application rather than preparation. Therefore, once you are prepared, the application becomes successful when we go to that level. I stop it here. We will continue on Friday. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyawad.
Thank you, Bindoji. Thank you very much for guiding us through this third session of Aparokshanubhuti. The hand raising is open right now, and the chat is also available for listeners to comment. And if anybody has a question, please come up. Bindoji will be with us for another half an hour. Namaste, Venkatji.
Hari Om Bindoji, Hari Om Prakashi, Hari Om Ultimate.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Bindoji, I have few preparation related questions, that has been covered today.
Okay.
Avidyā kalpita sthiti and sarupa, I think it's also called as sthiti. For the, the notation used for explanation. Now, as the sthitis are provided and an entry criteria is laid out, Shat Sampatti, as a means to, get rid of avidyā, to move towards or, recognize the sarupa, the natural state. The key question is, now it is giving an entry criteria. The one without chitta shuddhi, that the Shat Sampatti, the sixfold qualities of a seeker, equal to, I'm just putting it as Shat Sampatti equal to chitta shuddhi. Hence, further, ability to get on to knowledge is, imminent, guaranteed. But what is for the ones who's not achieved this chitta shuddhi, the sixfold qualities? Something is missing. In a way, is this still okay to progress with the, the rest of the text? So what is getting, what is getting qualified here? What is the hope for the one who doesn't have this?
Okay. You have to understand the one which I told, Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Adhamadhikari. The superior student, the mediocre student, and the lower student. Now, what you have asked is about the lower student, one who doesn't have the, Shat Sampatti. So that is why the text said that if you are a superior student who is endorsed with the four qualities of Viveka, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti, and Mumukshutva, instantaneous to the Shravana Samakale Eva Jnanam, or the very time you read or you understand this from the teacher's explanation, you realize your true nature. There is no time lag between the two. But if you are in the mediocre or the lower type, that is where the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana and practice using Viveka Vairagya to develop Chitta Shuddhi or the Shat Sampatti, which you said rightly, will happen. Assuming that all the three have the mumukshutvam, the freedom, the desire to be freed from the bondage and the limitations of the body and etc. That I am assuming that it is there, as mumukshutvam is a request or a prerequisite even to develop, Viveka Vairagya, etc. So I am not discussing that mumukshutva here. those who are not having mumukshutva will not be attending this class anyway. So that is there for all of us. But the problem is that how successful are we for the Shat Sampatti? As you rightly asked, for developing the Shat Sampatti, we have to have the Viveka and the Vairagya as an application after Viveka. Viveka will make us what is eternal and ephemeral, and then we will move from ephemeral towards eternal when we do continuously the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana on the ephemerality, because we are not even having the affirmation of the ephemerality of objects. We think tomorrow is positive and it is eternal. We plan for tomorrow. We think that, what we are doing now is for tomorrow. This time itself is ephemeral, is not in our mind. Only when we look at that in a state of eternity of our true nature, the time has no role to play. Therefore, the time itself becomes ephemeral in that sense. But are we able to do that? Only when we do the Viveka and develop our Vairagya towards our need for planning for tomorrow, or need for expectations and preparations for tomorrow. What is the guarantee tomorrow will be there? The famous Hindi saying, Kal kisne dekha hai? Who has seen tomorrow? Nobody has seen tomorrow. All we have is this moment. And this moment what we say even in time is our imagination, avidyā kalpitam. What is going on is our eternity. But in our eternity, we are bringing a imaginary time and then saying that past, present and future. And therefore, in the present, we are thinking that the future need to be taken care by present. But tomorrow, the future will become a present and the present will take care of the present. The future is not going to be taken care by the present. But we think that way. So that what happens is that when we are developing this dependency on ephemeral things for our day-to-day living, that is why Jnana Bhikshadivihi, when he said that two words, the bathing and the alms for satisfying our hunger, he didn't mean by the 2 words alone. He included every ambit of our activity. All our activities, if you look really speaking, is taking granted the ephemeral things are eternal. Nowhere we are able to make the distinction between the ephemerality and eternity of things. Therefore, we are perpetually in a drive by this need for meeting ephemeral requirements which we think are eternal. That when we know by the Viveka, we will start developing the Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment or giving less importance to those things. The more we affirm ourselves about the eternity of things, what is ephemeral, what is ephemeral, the more will be our items in the detachment category. When we do this, our Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam, all the Shat Sampatti will start blossoming ourselves. It is there in us, but they are all being put to sleep because avidyā kalpitatva. All the qualities are there with us. But since avidya is there, we are running after the ephemeral things. Once we do the viveka, discernment, what is eternal and what is ephemeral, then these things will start blossoming. The more you practice it, the more will be your qualifications for doing that mumukshutva and to a reality. And when it matures, you become the uttama-adhikari and it will happen to you instantaneously.
I think this is clear, Binduji. I think the very nicely put it. Viveka and Vairagya complementary to each other. As Viveka applied, the Vairagya improves, because Viveka will reveal things that will improve the Vairagya, and that complement. Vairagya improves, then the Viveka become more sharper. This is for Madhyama-adhikari to continue the path of contemplation. Hence, further, that amplification is imminent in the process itself. Is that close enough? Is that clear? Is that understanding right?
That's right.
Okay. Now talk about this sthiti. This is the way the sthiti is applied. Avidyā kalpita, or the natural state, also is used as a sthiti in this case. This means, realized state versus the ignorant state. Seems like it is a range, range of, or, spectrum of consciousness. Simply that. Or, what is temporary, what is eternal. It brings that variation, right, Binduji? Why sthiti is used in this case, in explaining it?
Actually, you cannot say that way. The better example will be the morning fog doesn't allow the sunrise to be seen. But as the sun becomes stronger, we do not know where the fog has disappeared. That it will be a better example between the present avidyā kalpitatva avastha, or the state in which we are deluding ourselves, to when we listen to the teachings and when we apply it, that becomes more and more matured in ourselves. That viveka, and we are not naturally inclined to think that way. But when we are listening to these teachings, we are hearing it first time. It may not make any impact on the person. But when he is listening it to a repeated time, then it will be coming to his mind as a thought every time when he is applying his logic for activity. That is the sun when it is becoming shining. And there, the fog, which is the avidyā, which otherwise was controlling him, will become lesser and lesser, and he will become more qualified with shamadama, uparati, etc. And thereby, it is not a clear-cut what you call this aspect is knowledge, this as is ignorance. No, it is not that way. You cannot clear-cut it. There is a transition phase. Like, even though we say light and darkness are opposite each other, but when we know that the shadow or the sun rising to the sun to the mid-noon, to the evening dusk and the night coming, there is a waxing and waning of the brilliance of the sun. Same way, this waxing of the avidyā, the gaining of the sunlight and the losing of the strength of the avidyā will be slow for the mediocre and the lower students. The Uttamadhikari or the superior student is crossed all these things in his either by birth or in his attempt to study this, because he has decided that what is being told by the Upanishad or the teacher is truth and he believes in it. He has no samshaya. Therefore, he will be much more qualified to listen it first time and realize it.
Clear, Binduji. Thank you, Binduji. I think that fog example was very good. Thank you. So, Ganesh, Hari Om.
Thank you, Venkat. Namaste, Ganesh.
Namaste, Binduji. So from today's takeaway points, I feel the Shat Sampati is very much present in our nature, like the true nature is Brahman, and avidyā is imposed on that due to our upbringing and all the external forces that act upon us from the birth. So the only fueling aspect to erase all this external imposition is Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, which would shed light upon Shat Sampati, which would enhance our mumukshutva, that makes us Uttamadhikari, which would be the pathway for the Brahma Jnana Sakshatkara. Am I right, Binduji?
Yeah, you are not wrong. But Viveka is more important in all of them.
Yes, yeah.
Viveka will bring Vairagya, and Viveka Vairagya together will, take out the lid from the Shat Sampati. See, if you really look into all of our activity, we are practicing Shat Sampati wherever it is required. But it is for the wrong purpose, that's all.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly.
Yeah. So, when the Viveka Vairagya is applied, the same Shamadama Adi will now be directed towards where the Viveka takes us. That's all.
So Viveka is the key for the opening up of the lid of Shat Sampati.
Yes.
Or the brightening up of the Shat Sampati for the best purpose.
Right.
Okay, Binduji. Thank you very much. And once Venkatji was mentioning that spectrum of consciousness, that I felt, can there be any spectrum of consciousness?
No.
No.
There is no spectrum of consciousness.
Yes.
Consciousness is Akhandakara Vritti.
Akhandakara.
Yes.
Yeah. I was just reminded of all through today's lecture that Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam. When you were explaining the what you call, even in the object there is something present as Atma-tattva or some eternal thing, and the perceiver and the perceived are present in the same substratum. When you were explaining that, I was thinking of the Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam. That's what I felt.
Yes.
Thank you, Binduji. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Otherwise, we can close.
Yes, I think
we can close. Unless you have.
Yeah, I just, that Viveka Vairagya. So in, earlier when I was, now I've changed my views, but earlier in the Upanishadic, various things, for example, avasthatraya. In avasthatraya, is that Viveka?
Avasthatraya is not Viveka. Avasthatraya is a methodology for manana. Avasthatraya vichara or avasthatraya, analysis is a manana aspect of it. But what is Viveka is that looking between the Nitya and Anitya. In the Avasthatraya also, what we are looking for the Nitya and Anitya. Avasthatraya or Anitya, the Sakshi which knows that Avasthatraya is the Nitya. So that Nitya Vastu Viveka is applied there also. But there, Avasthatraya per se, if you take it, it is more of a manana process for after analyzing the Sakshi and the Avasthatraya, that Avasthatraya is not a reality. There also Nitya Vastu Viveka is only being done. But the more important aspect there is that item by item we are not doing it. Where there we are taking the Sakshi one side and all the rest on the other side. So it's a prakriya or a process through which we do manana.
Yes. So the same will apply to Panchakosha, right?
Yes, same. All prakriyas are like neti also.
Yes. So the Viveka, the foundational Viveka is Nitya Vastu Viveka.
Yes. What is eternal, what is ephemeral?
Okay. So that has to be the primary focus. The Viveka is rested in that state. Right?
Established in Viveka, then you have to develop your Vairagya.
Yes. Thank you, Binduji. Thank you. Because there's when you read after having listened to your, sessions for for quite couple of years now, that has become quite clear that, sometimes I see online the citations for Viveka as, all these Panchakosha, Avasthatraya, Shariratraya. But that was a very important clarification. So, thank you.
Ganesh, you wanted to ask something?
Bindoji, the Avasthatraya and the Sakshi, and even the Sakshi also to be dropped towards the end, no?
Yes.
Even Sakshi becomes Anitya, no?
Yeah, that Sakshitvam. See, Sakshi means a witness. Where is the witness? Only when the Avasthatraya is there. But when we know Avasthatraya is not a reality, it is what is being Sakshi is only when the Avasthatraya is there. Otherwise, Avasthatraya and the Sakshi cannot be there. So they all will get dropped because Sat alone will remain then. Chinmatroham Sadashivam. That is the word, final thing.
Yes. Thank you, Bindoji. Thank you.
Prakash, we can close, I think.
Okay. Thank you, Bindoji. Thank you very much for the third session on Aparokshanubhuti. And just as a reminder, if you want to do the Sravana Manana, these recordings are available as replays on the Clubhouse and under the same house, Advaita Vedanta Satsang. Alternatively, if you are going for the earlier sessions, they are available on YouTube channel called Advaita Retold, where all these things are cataloged according to the series. And thank you all for coming, and for Venkatji and Ganesh Prasadji for the questions. And so the next session is on Friday, which will be the 4th, from same IST 8:30. And the following Sunday, at the time we will have an open discussion where this topic or anything to do with Advaita and even beyond can be put to examination or investigation with Bindoji. So again, heartfelt thank you, Bindoji. So with that, shall we close the room?
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Atmisha, Venkat, Ganesh Prasad, and all of you for attending the session.
Thank you, Bindoji.
We'll meet you on Friday again with a continuation of the class, the fourth session. Hari Om. Namaste. Good night.
Good night, Bindoji. Hari Om.
Good night. Hari Om.